Hi again. As mentioned previously in some of these reviews, the rise in knife crime here in the UK and violence in general leads to an emphasis on first aid. Stop the bleed campaigns, first aid kits being positioned for use to stop hemorrhage and so on, the use of tourniquets, all this kind of thing. There is an awareness both of the threat and of the need for immediate first aid provision. So with that in mind, particularly with anybody who is in the field of frontline security, whether it's private security, law enforcement, whatever, or responsible for first aid within a workplace or an establishment, there are certain items that can be usefully added to the first aid kit in various ways. And we have talked about things like hemostatic agents, shears and so on. What I want to talk about now is a particular flashlight, because the chance of having to treat a casualty in a low light environment is fairly obvious. A lot of violence occurs in dark times, dark areas, low light, whether it's indoors or out. And also in some catastrophic events, the power can fail and lighting can go off. So having a source of illumination co-located with the first aid kit is a useful idea. And most of the security people would probably have some sort of flashlight on them. But what we're going to talk about here is the idea of a headlamp. So what a headlamp does, it allows you to illuminate the scene while still keeping both hands free to work. You know, opening packaging for trauma dressings, getting equipment out, using scissors, shears, keeping pressure on, this kind of thing, two-handed job. So back in the day, you know, we quite often used to put a flashlight in our mouths, and you know, you'd wrap tape around the barrel to soften it a bit. But it's not very precise, and your jaw gets tired and the flashlight starts to sag, etc. So a headlamp, which is a long established item, fills the need, because the light's there. Where you look, the beam is directed. So if you're looking for a piece of kit in your bag or whatever, you see it, and then back to the casualty. So it's useful in that way. I have gone through a couple of headlamps over the years, and even ones with fairly reputable names, brand names, have proved to be quite flimsy. They just fall apart, the battery compartment breaks or whatever, and far from satisfactory. So what I was looking for recently, earlier this year, was one that was more sturdy, and it was also more user-friendly, where you could just reach up and the on-off switch was pretty well apparent and within obvious reach. Now with some of the other models, they were user-vicious, and they had fiddly little switches that you couldn't really locate them on the front of the light, and you couldn't really work out which way they're supposed to work and so on. So the model that I settled on, well, it cost £20 from Amazon. I'll put the link to it, and we'll go over the details. Anyway, this is the picture of it, and it seems fairly sturdy, and as I say, it is much more user friendly. It has various settings. It's a pretty powerful light, and also has a couple of different intensity levels plus a strobe. Now for this particular application, the strobe doesn't really make any difference, but it's there anyway. So the main considerations for me. Also, the harness that goes over your head, as you can see, has a central strap goes over the crown of your head, and this secures it much more strongly than ones that just have the headband, which can move, particularly if you're running to a scene or whatever. So I like that. Then another feature is at the back is an LED which can be a signal to guide in other team members to where you are. They can see from the back, they see that light, and they know where you are. It's also the indication of the amount of charging of the device. And a feature I really appreciate, which is common to quite a bit of modern equipment that we're getting, is it's USB charged rather than having to use batteries, replace the batteries, and they always fail at the most inopportune time, or the cover of the battery compartment eventually breaks or whatever. So I do like that feature. It also seems to hold a charge for quite a while. So they're the main things. What I want to go on to now, before I discuss the carriage of the headlamp with your kit, is another concept, which is in certain situations, heavy rainfall, vehicle accidents where there's fluids, it could be fuel, it could be stuff that's being carried, can be sloshing about, and in the dark you don't know what is blood, and you've got to find the source of it, and what is just environmental fluids. So a light with a blue filter shows up the red, shows up the blood, and we call it a blood light. And this is another idea, very, very inexpensive, about £5 light from one of the Chinese suppliers with a blue filter in a pouch on your first aid kit. And if you do have that situation where you have to locate blood, then it can be handy. It can be very useful. So that's just another item for the first aid kit, if you so wish. So my headlamp is kept in a dedicated pouch, which is a molly attached pouch, and it has surgical gloves always there, and the light itself fits very, very neatly into this pouch. And what I do is have the light, and then the surgical gloves go on top. And then this is a concept that we had with our bodyguard medical packs, is this pack is attached via the molly and by this extra clip to the shoulder strap of the pack. So as you're actually moving to the scene of the casualty, the headlamp and the surgical gloves are available. So the first thing you can do is glove up, and this is a barrier to infection either way, you becoming infected or you infecting the casualty, very important. And also the headlamp's there if you need it. So you don't even have to go into the pack, you can just access it there. So that's a concept. You can attach it with the molly to other parts of the pack if you wish, but it's very convenient if it's on your shoulder strap. So that's it really, that's the headlamp. Now it does have other applications for working around the home, doing DIY, working on a vehicle, outdoors activities, camping and so on, multitude of activities. So, there's quite a lot of bang for the buck when you buy one of these. It can be useful in many, many ways. So that's it. For me, the application, it's there in the pack on the shoulder strap. That's its main use. But I have used it for other things, and so far it's doing the job well. I'm not saying it's the best out there on the market. I haven't tested many of them. It's the one from the ones available and within the price range I wanted that seemed to do the job. And up to now, it does seem quite ideal.